You want to fight crime? Let's get dangerous.
And it is another Saturday. I am here. It is the beginning of a new year. We're officially in 2026. And from the Tesla Small Press Publisher is back with you again here. I'm your host, Joe D. McPhee, and I hope that you're having a good weekend here. Unfortunately, I am not, but that's neither here nor there. But nevertheless, we got a show for you tonight, and we got some things to discuss, some things to look at. But before we get into it, let's go ahead and get the business ends of things out the way. Let's make certain that people still realize that stupid o'clock still happens at 11 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is followed up by Last Man Standing at 1 a.m. Eastern. Then you get that respite until Monday morning, until you have Nevermind the Furthermore with Nicholas Tucker at 10 a.m. Eastern. And we're back. Yes, we're back with Comic Book Spectrum this upcoming Thursday, 7 p.m. Central, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So yes, we are back in 2026. We're going to have a pretty decent show, so stay tuned for that here. So without further ado, welcome to 2026 here. And no, I did not do my normal New Year's Eve show, only because it was pretty much on a Wednesday, and Wednesday going into Thursday, there's a lot of different things going on. I just wasn't prepared to do a New Year's Eve per se for a Wednesday. If it was like a Thursday going into Friday, where I know there's a long weekend, I could plan things out a little bit better. But having that Friday to actually go into work threw everything off here, so I just couldn't do the big hurrah for 2026. But we're in 2026. We're here. And we got some people already coming in, so it's about that time that for the very first time in 2026, we do have new books to show. So therefore, we got new comic book pickups for the week here. The first one of 2026 here. So without further ado, we got a small smattering of books to go through here. And if your guys are ready, let's start things off with Josie 35. That's a nice little Archie comic here. But then again, I'm still trying to figure out with all the Archie stuff that's out there. Everybody go goo goo gaga over, Sabrina and the Archie books and everything. But not too many people go after the Josies and the Josie and the Pussycats that often here. And I could say pretty much the same thing about Jughead too. It's like, those are my two favorite ones here, Josie and Jughead. Archie, not so much, Betty and Veronica, not so much. Betty and me, not so much. Reggie and me, not so much. The Josie and Jughead is pretty much where it's at for me when it comes to Archie comics. But we got Archie 178 right here, adding that into the collection here. And then we got Archie 245. And a nice little surprise. And I believe this one is, even though it's off the cover, it is still a good pickup here. We got Jughead's Jokes number 2. So this is oldie but a goodie here, Jughead Jokes number 2. And then that gets followed up by issue number 44 for Jughead Jokes here. Then we got another copy. I'm looking at it right now just to see, would this be a better one than the one that I already got graded. I got another Avengers 227. This is where Monica Rambeau officially joins the Avengers here. We got Ghost number 13 from the first volume here, as well as Ghost number 16. Nice little books there. We also got Dawn Return of the Goddess. I believe this is volume 2 from the runs of Dawn here, but this is issue number 1 for the Return of the Goddess series here. Then we got Dark Horse G.I. Joe number 1, the second volume of the Dark Horse run. And then we got some oldies but goodies here. And I was hoping people would be here because we got well, I shouldn't say in that aspect here, but we got some very good Lois Lanes here. I was about to use, some colorful adjectives, but we're not going to do that. But we're going to start it off with Lois Lane 71. I love this cover because of the simple fact that he's admitting that he's, tricking her with blackmail, trying to be like, oh, he's like, she got to give me this cash or this, that, or the other. It's like, I don't want her to know my office secret and this, that, or the other. So Lois Lane is paying Superman hush money in this one. So, that's kind of like the funny thing that I like about that one. And then we got Lois Lane in a follow-up issue after that, Lois Lane 72 here. And this one is pretty much, they're figuring out how Aquaman talks to the fishes and everything here. So you got Clark and Lois in the middle of the sea now trying to use communication with fish. And then we got one of the few Lois Lane 80-page giants here, which retells a lot of them, but there's like a big chunk out of the cover and everything to that magnitude here. But this is Lois Lane 77. It is an 80-page giant. These retell some of the earlier stories, like how she got cursed by her witch, when she became a mad woman, when she was a convict and everything, when she finally got X-ray vision, and when she was a ghost. So it was like kind of like a classic retelling of a lot of earlier Lois Lanes here. And then we got Lois Lane 84. She gets locked up again, which is funny. And then we got Lois Lane 89. And in this Lois Lane, she marries Bruce Wayne. She's like, I'm tired of waiting for you, Superman. I'm going to be with Batman. all this stuff is, kind of like hilarious. This tongue-in-cheek type covers for Lois Lane. Some of the stories are actually fun and it's a good laugh, but the greater majority, you just kind of have to take it for what it's worth here. And then we got Lois Lane 92 when she actually gets turned. That is the actual last of Lois Lane. So that would be the last ones that came in. Then we got another Jughead 186. And then we got a little bit of a run of the New Mutants here. Not a whole bunch of them, but we got a little bit of some of the early ones, such as number 4, number 5, number 7, and then we got 67. So my volume 1 New Mutants run is slowly filling in pretty good here. And then we got a full run of volume 2 of Angel and the Ape. This is the second volume here from 1991. There was another volume of Angel of the Ape that came after this, but there it is, issue number 1, issue 2, issue 3, and issue 4. And what's funny with all of these here is that I believe this story kind of focused in around a character from the inferior five, which is Dumb Bunny. So that's one of the key things here. And then two books, if you've really been paying attention to what I've been saying, there's no need to no need to really go into a big spill about it. We got another copy of Action Comics 592 and 593. So if you've been paying attention to the show, you know exactly why those books are in my point of view, why I kind of sort of speculate on it. Not because it is the greatest thing since all time, but it has a story that cannot be retold in its entirety in this day and age. So that's the reason why I say what I said here. Then we got, I believe this is the second appearance of the Impossible Man in Fantastic Four 176. It is pretty good. And then we got a very, 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 very early Archie. And that is Archie 84. So this is a very, very, very early Archie book here. And again, there's my guy Jughead in that one. And, as you can read here, it says like, well, Betty, give me an 8-letter word for that means rival. It's like, yes, Jughead, Veronica, which is Veronica, being, Betty's rival. And then last but not least, I know people have been speculating a lot on these two books, but I finally got my hands on another copy of one, but this is the first time I have ever seen the other one. We got Barbie Fashion #1, and then another copy of Barbie number 1. So we got more copies of that in, and that brings us to the end of new comic book pickups for the week here. There are still more books to come. I believe a couple of sellers are sending out more stuff over this week. And again, because it was New Year's, the week of New Year's, the mail and stuff is still kind of discombobulated and everything. Everything still has not arrived as of yet, but there's still more books to come here. Which brings us to accountability. And accountability kind of runs into tonight's topic, but it's really something that's separate per se. So as far as what I've been doing here, as far as the comics is concerned here, I've been working on another chapter of one of the stories for Legends of the Giantess Slayer. I am down to, to be quite honest, I have to render one panel plus one full. Well, actually, I take that back. 2 panels and then a full page to have this 8-page chapter done. And the next thing I need to do would be letter it. And we have another chapter that could go into issue 4 of Legends of the Giantess Slayer. Outside of that, I still need to buckle down and get Primetime Saturday Night #6 done. We're in January, so that means sales tax time. I have to get prepared for paying sales tax through the state of Illinois, and towards the end of the month, get ready to do both income and corporate taxes. So it is that time of the month, and it's one of those things that I'm just not happy with. It's just like this time of the month just does not make me happy, or this time of the year, because everything becomes due and everything is like, it's crunch time come around January 31st. As soon as I get that my W-2s and everything, get the corporate taxes done, get the personal taxes done, get that out in the mail and all this other nice stuff, and move forward pushing. And then once the tax refunds and stuff comes in, pay for C2E to get more books printed up here, have more of the rated books ready to go, and do a whole bunch of other odds and ends stuff just to keep things running here. We got things with the website coming up here, just expensive just to be paid here. The barcode numbers have to be paid for. The website has to be paid for. I got other comic books that need to be paid for. This is going to be kind of like money crunch time, but we're going to try to get it done as best as we can here. So without further ado, this might be a very, very, very short show because, again, we haven't been productive all this week because, right, it's New Year's. Not to say that I haven't been working on books or stuff to that magnitude, but when I say not productive, I'm really meaning that I really haven't gone out my way to look at the landscape of comics anymore, because this time of the year, I'm more focused on, like I said, getting all these different taxes paid, getting the corporate taxes ready. I still got to pay the lawyer for the corporate filing to keep everything in good standing with the state of Illinois. All of that stuff has to be done. And, this is where, a lot of money and stuff is just like outside of my hands and everything. But we're going to get it done. We're going to get it done. We're going to keep things rolling and everything. But the reason why it's not productive is because New Year's is really supposed to be a great celebration of a few things here. And that is, you made it to a new year. And each and every year, you have to look towards the, kind of like at the very beginning and at the very end, you look towards the future. It's like, we don't know what the next few months is going to hold here, and we don't know what will happen this year. Just like leaving 2025, you have all this stuff that you need to push back and let it be. It's like some of the unfinished business, the relationships that you have ended, and all this other stuff. You have to let go of that because you're looking towards the future to make things better for the future. Now, since we're physically in 2026, now you have to use those best laid plans to make 2026 the best that you can. Now, do I do, resolutions? No. Because resolutions is nothing more than just a plan anyway. And best laid plans doesn't always come to fruition here. But what I try to do is look at the landscape of where I'm at, set goals for where I want to be come March, May, June, July. And then when it comes around March, May, June, July, I set my goal for October, November, December. Now, the one thing that I can say is, like, as I moving closer and closer to retirement from the 9-to-5 job, one of the things that I'm trying to get done is get a lot of the expenses paid off that I have here to cut down on my bills before I could do the comics full time. And if I start doing the comics full time, guess what? I might be doing streaming a lot more often, because that could be an extra added source of revenue for the company itself. Probably doing more drawing streams or rendering streams and stuff to that magnitude as a whole here. Well, and one of the things that before I forget, hopefully you guys did get the Christmas graphics as well as the New Year's graphics. The New Year's graphics I know went through. And you see, I'm not stressed out about it. I wasn't stressed out about it. I didn't have to kind of like apologize for making you guys wait, because we got those done ahead of time. It was just Christmas ones that was a little bit iffy. And the reason why the Christmas ones are a little bit iffy, because there's no dialogue in them. I normally do like the New Year's ones, like a one panel comic strip. So I have those stories thought out well ahead of time. So it's not really that much of a change here for those graphics as well as opposed to the Christmas graphics. The Christmas graphics are more unique than anything else. But saying all that to say, the New Year's graphics really advertise what's coming up in 2026. So if you paid attention, there was extra graphics this year. There was an extra graphic for Legends of the Giant Slayer. So 2025 going into 2026 is really those promos were those graphics were promos for that here. And there's Aaron. I'm okay, Aaron. Happy New Year to you. Hopefully you had a very good New Year. You missed out on new comic book pickups for the week here. And as I was stating here, oh, you read Primetime Saturday Night #1 yesterday. Did you start with 0 or did you start with 1? Because issue 0 is technically considered a prequel issue to 1. So, yeah, okay, yep, Happy New Year back at you. But if you read issue 1, I just let you know, issue 0 is kind of like a prequel. So, issue 1 started off with the aftermath of what happened in 0. Cool, you did start with 0. So you're seeing the story as in its proper timeline there. Because when I created issue #1, I talked about the pay-per-view that started the whole drama. And when I did issue 0, I actually did that pay-per-view episode. So that was the key thing. So if you start with 0, you're good. If you start with 1, you're still going to be good because you didn't really miss much because they already told you what actually happened, the main story that happened from the pay-per-view. Love both for real. And Primetime Saturday Night is a labor of love dealing with pro wrestling. Only thing I'm doing is if I was an actual booker in pro wrestling, I'm literally playing out a show with all of the different wrestlers, playing out the storylines, playing out the promos and everything, and putting it in a nice, pretty package that resembles what you see on television. Most people would say it's like, yeah, most people could try to do that, but it doesn't really capture it until they read Primetime Saturday Night. And it was like, you captured it. You captured all of it. It's like, you have all of it. It's like, it's not like watching TV, but it's close enough where if you are a pro wrestling fan, at least women's pro wrestling fan, you get everything that is there that they do have there. Oh, you're gonna like the second story arc, which starts in issue #4. Issue #4 starts the next story arc. If you like Diva Gold, issue #4 starting the next story arc, it's going to get there. Yeah, the Juggernaut. Yep, we got Juggernaut. We haven't got that far because, well, actually, yeah, we did get that. Well, you already got to issue #1. So far, you got Juggernaut. You saw Juggernaut. You saw Bootsy. You saw Jungle Cat. You saw Slamazon. So far, I try to think who else. You have seen Helga and Glory, the Cold Warriors. So far, you've seen the Good Girls Next Door, which is Power Maiden and the Bakery Ninja, and it's a whole bunch of I got a whole bunch of them, but I'm just thinking it's like in the first 2, 0 and 1. I'm trying to think of all the ones that you've seen so far. You have seen the Goddess Leah. You see who did she fight? You saw Brick House. I'm trying to think who did Glory fight in issue 0. You saw Shayla. It's a whole bunch. It's a whole bunch. Yeah, I read the first three Amazonias. I have zero through three primetime Saturday night. So yeah, 0 through 3. You got the first story arc. That's the first full story arc for 0 through 3 for primetime Saturday night. I haven't finished the first story arc for Amazonia. Amazonia's first story arc goes to probably issue 15 or 16. So there's still a lot more story to be told in Amazonia. But 0 through 3 is the first true story arc to establish the title. Issue 4 starts the longer form story that's being told here, and it's a lot of behind the scenes and everything. And I'm having fun with the tag. Well, I could go ahead and say that I'm having a lot of fun with the tag team tournament that happened in that second story arc. Those who have been reading know that there's a tag team tournament that's going on here, and there's going to be more of that tournament in issue number 6. There's an introduction to Voluma in issue number 6 and a couple other things. So it's a lot more coming in primetime Saturday night as a whole here. But as I was getting at, because of the holiday, it's more along the lines, I couldn't really truly concentrate on the bigger books such as Amazonia and primetime Saturday night. I had enough time to do the chapter for Legends of the Giants and Slayer because those are short, those are quick, those are fewer pages. It's like I said, 8-page story. It's easier for me to think about, get it out of my head onto either paper or, in this case, into Dodge Studio and format the pages before I could go ahead and letter it. So it's one of those types of deals here. But because, you have to deal with family, you have to deal with friends, you deal with celebrations, and then the other unfortunate expenses of the holidays. And like I stated before, I'm at the point of the beginning of the year is always hectic for me because I have to worry about sales tax, corporate taxes, personal taxes, other documentation that have to go to the state to establish the corporation and everything to that magnitude. Then I have to worry about paying for I got into March to worry about the website and the barcode numbers that is through USGS. Yes, we pay for the barcode numbers. The barcode numbers that you see on those books, they will be able to be picked up and scanned by any big box store, and they know exactly what it is. I have to pay for all that type of stuff. It's part of doing business, but that's all the first of the year expenses. So money is like going to be like ultra tight, and trying to get everything paid and everything paid off. And like I stated before, as I'm moving closer and closer to retirement from my 9-to-5 job, trying to take care of all that, then trying to knock down credit card bills and other expenses such as books and stuff that I got from comic book mongers and all this other stuff that I still got to pay off on. Trying to get all that stuff taken care of and getting everything taken care of for I could have a steady income coming in, and then having the revenue come in for the books seems to be working here. And there they are. They're a little bit late. You already missed new comic books for the week here. We had a nice little stack here. I don't think there's any books that B or Lils would go goo goo gaga out of for here. But I am happy that I finally got a Jughead Jokes number 2. The cover is not attached, but it is full and intact here. And no, I am not going back through all of the books here. and you missed the Lois Lanes. I might do the Lois Lanes though, because I know you guys get a kick out of those covers. Because Lois Lane has some of the best jerky Superman books here, but you missed it from earlier. There it is, Jughead Jokes #2 from 1967. Cover's not attached though, but it is a nice little book that I picked up, I think, for like maybe like $5 to $6. But the Lois Lanes that you missed from earlier, the blackmail issue. Yes, I got the blackmail issue 71. Oh, thank. I just realized what happened. We had the cat, and now we got the dog. So, yep, that is a nice joke. So now we got the blackmail. I should have said that. I did mention that before. The blackmail issue of Lois Lane. Superman blackmailing Lois. And then we got, hey, we can mimic Aquaman issue. Yes, they use a special communicators to talk to the flying fishes in the sea here. And then I got one of the 80-page giants here, which has, and I hate the fact that they had that big old chip out of it, but you can't beat it. You can't beat it with a stick for like $2. You know, for a $2 comic, you can't really beat it. Like, what if Lois had X-ray vision? What if she was really a witch? You know, the first time that she was in jail. What if, you know, when she was a ghost, and then when she was kind of like, you know, the Mad Woman of Metropolis type issue. The spine is not all that great, but it is complete. I'm not going to worry about it. So here we go. Here we go. So it's like he asked Leia, "Hey Leia, do you have a favorite character, favorite AWF prime time?" Yes, she does. Actually, she does. Actually, she does. Yeah, I mentioned it before. That character makes their appearance in issue 6, which I'm working on right now. Oh, I was thinking of Judson. I only read, you know, read the few couple. Yeah, and there it is, Lois in jail again. Talk about Superman. Please tell. It's like, please tell him that I'm your friend. I've never seen this person in my life. And then another, screw you, Superman. I'm about to marry Bruce Wayne. I'm going to marry Batman. Yes, that's the issue that happened in. And then she turns into a centaur in that one. Super joint. uh, I forgot which ones are Neil. You know what? Let me take a look. Let me take a look at 84 and 89. 84 and 89 looks like they are Neil covers. So Lois Lane, 84. Oh, this definitely needs to get pressed. Lois Lane arrested and convicted of theft, arson, extortion, and attempted murder, broke jail. So this one didn't have the credits at the very beginning. So I'm wondering if they're at the very end. Nope, they're not at the very end. Oh, don't tell me they didn't have they didn't have the credits. They don't have the credits in these. That's interesting. So that tells me it is time to look this stuff up in CLZ to really figure out, because I didn't see any type of credits in issue 84. So that's just weird. So according to CLZ, and that was 84. Yeah, 84, Neil Adams. That is a Neil Adams cover. 89, I believe, is a Neil Adams cover. Yep, 89 is a Neil Adams. And the only reason I know because that's just the way that he draws Batman. 92. Actually, this is Neil Adams inking, but Kurt Swan drawn. So that's Kurt Swan drawn, but Neil Adams inked it. And I think those are the only ones that were Neil Adams related here, since people were asking about that. So yeah, those were the Neil Adams. 81 in space. I'm going to cut your line because you won't marry me. That one, if I could get into focus, that's the cover. It's like, oh my goodness, he just broke my support line here. It's the perfect murder. Super jerk. I'm still kind of partial to this one right here. Her holding up this big ass chunk of kryptonite. It's like they're threatening Batman, Superman like that. When Lois was more super than Superman. I think I only got one. I only got one of the 3 Wonder Woman ones, though. The jerkiest super jerk. Yes. Nice. Yep. Neil Adams is fun to collect. Yeah, he is. He is. But again, there's a lot of characters. Oh, welcome on in, Purple Power. There's a lot of cool Neil Adams drawn characters that most people sleep on. Now, like I said, this is Lois Lane and whatnot, but he has done some Superman stuff. He has done mostly Batman. But out of all the Neil Adams stuff that he did, I think the only one that I really admire the most is Miss Mystic, and I got the majority of the Miss Mystic stuff. And that's kind of like one of those sleeper type deals that Neil Adams did later on in his career up under Continuity Comics, was Miss Mystic. So if you're a big fan of Neil Adams, it's like there's just so many different books that you could go to to see his work. But if you're a big Batman fan, there's a lot of Batman examples. There's some Superman examples. And there's a I can't really say that it's really a handful of Neil Adams, Lois Lane, because I think from like 75, it's not 75, 79 to like 86, it's like Neil Adams. Matter of fact, let's see, 75. No, 75 was not it. So I don't have 79. 78 was Kurt Swan. 80 was inked by Neil Adams. 81 was Neil Adams. I don't have 82. 83 with Neil Adams. 84 is Neil Adams. 85 is Neil Adams cover. 86 is it's an Al Plastino cover. Oh, that's because it was an 80-page giant. Because it was an 80-page giant, that's the reason why it has a different cover here. 88 was Neil Adams. 89, we just showed that was Neil Adams. 90 is Neil Adams. 91 is Neil Adams. 92, it was inked by Neil Adams, but it's not a full Neil Adams cover. And 97 is a Murphy Anderson cover. So I could honestly say most of the issues in the 80 had a lot of Neil Adams influence when it comes to Lois Lane. You're a big Neil Adams fan. Yeah, some of Kirk Swan is great too. Sometimes okay. There's a lane. It's like everybody missed new comic book pickups for the week, and I'm kind of like rehashing some of the stuff here. Well, you missed new comic book pickups for the week. You missed pretty much everything that I needed to say. So pretty much I'm just out here talking to you guys as of right now, because I'm just pretty much saying it's like it hasn't been all that productive of a week for me outside of almost finishing this 8-page chapter for not Primetime Saturday Night, for Legends of the Giant Slayer. Y'all really want me to do really want me to do the comic book pickups for the week for a second time. Okay, fine. Since you guys are being nice about it, we're going to do new comic book pickups of the week for a second time in a row. For those who didn't catch it at the very beginning, guess what? Because our regulars are up here saying, "Oh, we want to see," we're going to do them again. However, we're going to do them in a different order than what we had them in the very beginning. So we started back off with the Lois Lane 71, the blackmail issue. No, it's not it's nothing to be sorry. It's nothing to be sorry about. That's nothing to be sorry about. Happy New Year. See, you're lucky. You're lucky. It's like you had a revolt. No, it's called I listen to the people. I listen to the people. Most of the time, most people are like, "Nah, go back and watch it on the rerun." It's like, no, I'm listening to the people here. So we got 71. There's 72, where she being like Aquaman and talking to the flying fishes. The 80-page giant 77. Lois, the one that we just got through looking at, 84. Lois Lane back in jail again. Lois Lane marrying Bruce Wayne and be like, "I'm going to be the wife of Batman" in issue number 89. And issue number 92, she becomes a centaur again. No, I shouldn't say she becomes a centaur again, but she becomes a centaur. And then that was out of order, so I'm going to put that back because we want to deal with the first group of Archie stuff. So we got Josie 35. And again, I said earlier, I don't understand why everybody go goo goo gaga over things like Sabrina and Archie and Betty and Me and Betty and Veronica and all this other stuff. I'm more partial to things like Josie and Jughead when it comes to Archie. We got Jughead's 178, 245, and then I think we got this on the low, no more than $2 for actual Jughead Jokes number 2 for 1967. The cover is not attached, but it's all there though. And then we got Jughead Jokes 44, another copy of Avengers 227, the when Monica Rambeau first joined the Avengers. Then, because of a certain Parallax Spectre, she got me into this one. So we got Ghost 13 from the first series and Ghost 16 from the first volume. And then we got from the second volume, Dawn, the Return of the Goddess, issue number 1. So I've almost got a full run of Return of the Goddess here. G.I. Joe number 1 from the second volume of the series from Dark Horse. And then we got Jughead 186. And then we got some New Mutants here. We got New Mutants number 4, number 5, number 7, and 67. Then we got the full run of Angel and the Ape, Volume 2, which is here. We got issue 1, issue 2 with Dumb Bunny from Inferior 5, issue 3, and it ends with the whole scenario with Dumb Bunny in issue number 4. But that is volume 2 of Angel and the Ape. I still have to finish off volume 1 from the 1960s and then finish off the other series that came later. I believe it came in like the late 90s, early 2000s here. Then you guys seen these before. I'm not going to go into any detail about why they're important, but there it is. Action 592 and 593. If you've been watching my show, you know why I make a big deal about these 2 issues here. If I ever speculated on an issue, it was those 2 issues per se. This should make Parallax happy because this is, I believe, is the second appearance of the Impossible Man, which is Fantastic Four 176. And then we got Archie 84 from what year was this? 1957. 1957, Archie 84. And then last but not least, we got another copy of Barbie number 1, and then we got Barbie Fashion number 1. That was new comic book pickers for the week for the second time here. So now we got to see all the nice, pretty comments about who likes what and everything from there. Actually, 2 of us know where you live. Yep. I remember that issue. She had a drink, and she had to drink a flower, and it got her back to normal again. Yep. Good. It's like Good Taste of Archie. I never got into them, but some, yeah, they are funny. They are funny. They do have a lot of humor. The humor in a lot of the Archie comics is very much innuendo. It is not, as much as people want to say Archie is made mostly for kids, it really isn't. It's really more adult humor. And it's kind of like the same type of adult humor. It's like if you ever watched the Bozo Show coming out in Chicago, the double entendres and the jokes that they crack there, it's kind of like what they crack in Archie. It's not really over kids' heads per se, but because of the innuendos and the double entendres, it really makes it really, really funny for adults because adults understand what's really going on more so than the younger readers. I like Josie. I really like Betty and Serena. Well, I'm not a big fan of Betty, Veronica, and Serena as much as I am with Josie, Melody, and Valerie. You know, yeah, I could see collecting Jughead and Josie though. Yeah, that's like did her eyes actually pop out on what issue here? Impy. Wait, that wasn't first. That's second. because that specifically said it's the return of the Impossible Man. That's the second appearance. Innuendo is Italian for suppository. Think about it. Oh, she's cracking those old jokes now. Yeah, the girls are supposed to be good, lady. They are having Milano cookies and watching Unky Joe. Yep. Yeah, I get that about Archie now. It's okay. Compare Archie from like the 1940s to maybe 2000 has always been about innuendo and kind of, skirting that line between, you know, not being too edgy, but yet at the same time of being quirky and somewhat hip. Then in the 2000, Archie made a power move to kind of make him more updated and relatable to modern kids of the future 2000 level type deals, and dealing with a whole bunch of other stuff, and it changed the nature of all the characters here. So the characters that I grew up in love are no longer the way that they're supposed to be. Yeah, Matt, does have his out of context panel, and he features Archie a lot. Oh yeah, there's certain things in Archie. There's certain things in Archie that just would get people, if it's not told in the context, would get people in trouble. It's one of the reasons why I believe it's Betty and Me 106. It's one of the most sought after books because of innuendo and out of context. For those who don't know, Betty and Me 106, what that is, on the cover of it, and this is the reason why it's so sought after. On the cover, you have Archie carrying Betty out of the water from the beach and everything, and it has Betty saying something to the effect that's like, Archie, you're so brave for doing this for me. And Archie replies back, it's like, well, I have to be off 3 men to do this. And it's like, yeah, out of context, I had to be off 3 men, three other men to do this. Can be taken so far out of context, and that's why I said the innuendos in Archie are classic, especially the older Archie. The older the Archie it is, the more classic those innuendos can be here. Like Rocky and Bullwinkle and Hoppity Hooper. Yep. Oh, that reminds me. And, I need to talk to you and Cliff about this. I just saw a video dealing with Rocky and Bullwinkle that caught my attention. And what caught my attention about this Rocky and Bullwinkle thing was it was about facts about the show that talked more about Jay Ward's influence. Rocky and Bullwinkle wasn't the top rated segments of the Rocky and Bullwinkle show. Do you guys know what was the top rated segment of Rocky and Bullwinkle? I'm going to give you guys a few moments to think about it, because when I watched this video, it's like, that made sense. And then they went into everything that went into making those segments, and I was like, they're right. All of those segments could have been a show themselves. And I believe Hoppity Hooper was a offshoot of actually it is an offshoot of said segment of Rocky and Bullwinkle, but I'm not going to say what it is as of yet. Yeah, they did a facsimile of it, because again, the original, that innuendo, and that's what makes me so mad about modern speculation, because modern speculation is like, anytime one of those characters was in a swimsuit on the cover, there's like, oh yeah, we gotta mark the price up because you got Veronica in a swimsuit, Betty is in a swimsuit, everybody's in a swimsuit. It's like, no, it has no significance. But that joke for 106 was one of those things that just stuck for years and years, and then modern speculation just took off with it. Yep, you got it. Fractured Fairy Tales. Fractured Fairy Tales could have been a show within itself. It did not need Rocky and Bullwinkle. And to be quite honest, I think they said that out of I forgot how many episodes of Rocky and Bullwinkle, they said that they had enough Fractured Fairy Tales. I think they had close to like 200 and something Fractured Fairy Tales where it could have been its own cartoon series. They could have continued Fractured Fairy Tales by itself. It did not need Rocky and Bullwinkle. And that would be something that I think would be interesting to kind of talk about in Comic Book Spectrum. But like I said, I leave it to you and Cliff as far as that is concerned here. Well, there was a lot more behind the scenes with Fractured Fairy Tales that people didn't realize here. Like, for example, June Foray did all the female voices for Fractured Fairy Tales, except when she was not available. And then they mentioned it was only 2 other people that ever filled in for her for Fractured Fairy Tales. If she wasn't available, they got 1 other person, and the people couldn't tell the difference. That's how professional her backup was. They could not tell the difference between June Foray and her doing these voices. And a lot of the Fractured Fairy Tales were just so far out there in left field. It was so far ahead of its time. Jay Ward hated the animation because a lot of the animation was coming out of South America. South America and Mexico and South America. And he hated the animation but he was like, but it told the story correctly. If it wasn't for the writing, Fractured Fairy Tales would have flopped because he hated the animation so much. It's like he did not want the stuff to be animated so poorly, but it worked. I mean, it was kind of awesome to kind of sit there and watch this kind of like retrospective about Fractured Fairy Tales, because it was like one of those things to say, it's like, hey, as much as people love Rocky and Bullwinkle, and they also mentioned about the whole fact about what happened with the Rocky and Bullwinkle show, that it went up under 3 iterations because of how people bought them out here. And they're saying that the original was called, what was it called? It was called, it wasn't called Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was called something else. And then when it went from ABC to NBC, it went from the original name to Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends. And then when it left NBC and eventually died, it became the Rocky and Bullwinkle Show. So it went through 3 name changes throughout the course of its lifetime. And then what makes it even worse is that it becomes just about impossible to get all of the Fractured Fairy Tales in one fell swoop here, because of the simple fact that the copyright changed hands from like 5 different companies. So the one that I have here, and I didn't realize that there was 2 more volumes to this. So there's 2 more volumes that I don't have of this here that eventually I have to get. This is the Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends, and there's 5 seasons. There are 5 total seasons that are there here. Only got the first 3. I didn't realize 4 and 5 actually came out here. But then again, this was during the time where I was actually going to DVD stores and was picking stuff up here. And you know what happened with places like Coconuts and Suncoast and all those other stuff. They went bye-bye, so did my interest of going to stores to buy DVDs and everything here. Yeah, Aesop the Son was not bad. Aesop the Son was not bad. You know, Peabody and Sherman was not bad. Dudley Do Right was not bad, but by far, Fractured Fairy Tales is what people was really tuning in for, more so than Rocky and Bullwinkle or Dudley Do Right or Peabody and Sherman and everything. Everybody was tuning in for Fractured Fairy Tales. And a lot of Fractured Fairy Tales were not actual fairy tales. They were actual different lores from different countries too. So it wasn't just pure fairy tales. They actually kind of made up some of the stories that they came along, but a lot of it has some basis within some type of lore, some type of tale. Yeah, they all had different endings based on when the show was done. They all had different endings based upon which lore that they was using at the time. That was the thing that they were saying in the one documentary that I was watching here. Yeah, Peabody and Sherman, the improbable history of Peabody and Sherman was always great. I like Peabody and Sherman, but I never realized how important Fractured Fairy Tales was, because it's like, yeah, that was kind of like the glue that kept everything together. That was the segment that kept everything together, that made you want to really watch more of Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was like kind of like a nice break between the beginning segment and the end segment of the Rocky and Bullwinkle episode. Yeah, many of them was based upon either the Brothers Grimm or Mother Goose type scenarios here. But also they made mention that they also made they took different legends from different countries too, and they kind of did their spoof on it. But it's interesting. You know, I have to go back into my YouTube history to, well, actually, let me go ahead and do that now. Since I'm now thinking about it, because I could show you which video it is. It should be in my history. Because it's been about like 2 weeks since I've seen it. About 2 weeks. So that means I haven't really watched too much YouTube as of late. I did see the end of Wednesday. I will leave my opinion of that to Wednesday. I won't to Thursday, I should say, about Wednesday. But I won't make mention about that anytime soon here. So that way, you know, it would still be fresh and ready to go. It'll be fresh and ready to go for Thursday here. Yeah, that was another one that I probably would bring up a little bit later.
Whenever working people.
Okay, so I'm about to bring it up on screen here. I'm glad that you guys were patient enough to allow me to do this here, since you guys had me to go ahead and do the new comic pickups for the week again. The thing that I saw here was, it was called Fractured Fairy Tales, the 1960s, 40 Bizarre Secrets They Hid. And that was the video that I saw here. It was made by the American Vintage Tales. You know, matter of fact, Let me see if I can get this thing to
ASME demands more safety on the
to
job,
get
more
this
respect
thing.
in the workplace, more
Come
power
on, we
in
want to skip. We want to skip. We want to skip. We want to skip because I want to preview some of the things that were being said here.
You guys are the next generation of baking superstars.
I am Justin Bieber.
There we go.
His costume changes. It's a small detail, but it perfectly captures who Horton was. A man of habit, loyalty, and old school Hollywood.
No, that's too far. That's too far
that
into
sweater
it.
probably had better credits than most.
That's too far into it. So we're going to go from the very beginning here. Sorry about that. These stupid commercials. We don't want commercials.
Ready for spring break. Emphasis.
Prince Fletcher grew into a handsome man, but he wasn't happy just being handsome.
I want to be famous.
What if I told you the most iconic cartoon of the 60s was basically a scam? Fractured Fairy Tales wasn't just a segment on Rocky and Bullwinkle. It was a Trojan horse of satire hidden in a kids' show.
Boo!
The animation came from a location Hollywood studios refused to use. It was bankrolled by a sponsor who controlled exactly when you ate breakfast. And the man in charge, the name you saw on screen for 5 years, he had a secret that should have gotten the show canceled. We're uncovering the 40 strangest truths, from the illegal animation techniques to the hidden war against Disney.
But this is a no.
Looks more like a customer. Rapunzel, Rapunzel, let down your hair so that I may climb the golden stair.
Number 40. You'd think a groundbreaking American cartoon would be made in Hollywood, right? Wrong. Fractured Fairy Tales was animated at Gamma Productions in Mexico City by a crew with almost no experience. Jay Ward's production company outsourced the work to keep costs down, making it one of the first US TV cartoons to go overseas. The result? Crude animation that disappointed Ward himself. But here's the irony. The cheap visuals became part of the charm. Audiences overlooked the wonky drawings because the writing was razor sharp. Turns out you don't need smooth animation when your jokes land hard.
Let us take him home and get him sucking. You mean a lollipop?
Number 39. Edward Everett Horton wasn't some young voice actor looking for a break. He was a Hollywood veteran, born in 1886, already in his 70s when Fractured Fairy Tales debuted in November 1959.
He's the narrator, people.
He appeared in over 120 films, perfected the art of the double take, and worked with legends like Ernst Lubitsch and Frank Capra. His warm, grandfatherly delivery wasn't an act. It was genuine. That soothing voice that made twisted fairy tales feel safe, it came from a man who'd been performing since before World War I. Peak casting, everyone. Number 38. Most sponsors pay for airtime and slap their logo on the credits. General Mills went further. They retained all U.S. television rights to Rocky and Bullwinkle, which included Fractured Fairy Tales. That's an unusually powerful position for a cereal company. It meant General Mills controlled how, when, and where the show aired, not just the network. This rights structure also complicated syndication for decades, as ownership shifted hands multiple times. So yes, the company that brought you Cheerios also controlled one of the smartest cartoons on TV. Priorities, people.
Well, what do you want, you muddy little old man?
Are you the good fairy?
Of course I'm the good fairy.
Number 37. This wasn't a handful of throwaway segments. Over the show's 5-year run from 1959 to 1964, Fractured Fairy Tales produced 91 complete episodes. That's a massive library of reimagined stories, from Cinderella to Rumpelstiltskin to obscure European folk tales most American kids had never heard of. Each one clocked in around 5 minutes, which meant writers had to nail the setup, twist, and punchline fast. The sheer volume proves this wasn't a side project. It was a core pillar of the Rocky and Bullwinkle variety show format. Quantity and quality.
You have created a finster.
You mean monster.
I know a guy named Finster who's a monster.
Number 36. One Fractured Fairy Tales episode turned Sleeping Beauty into a tourist trap. In Sleeping Beauty Land, the cursed princess became a roadside attraction where people paid admission to see her sleep.
Yeah, this was the episode
that jab at Disneyland, which had opened just a few years earlier in 1955. The joke wasn't subtle. Fairy tales weren't sacred stories anymore. They were products, packaged and sold. It's the kind of media-savvy satire you'd expect from a modern Adult Swim show, not a sponsor-driven Saturday morning cartoon. But Fractured Fairy Tales never played it safe. Number 35. One Fractured Fairy Tale didn't just end when the credits rolled. It hopped into its own show.
The beginnings of Hoppity Hooper.
The basis for the Adventures of Hoppity Hooper, which ran from 1964 to 1967. The character was popular enough that J. Ward Productions built a whole series around him, complete with new storylines and a recurring cast. It's proof that Fractured Fairy Tales wasn't just a filler segment, it was a creative incubator. Some of those 5-minute stories packed enough charm to sustain entire franchises. Not bad for a talking frog.
Goat? That's my daughter. You get to marry her.
Hello, honey.
Number 34. Fractured Fairy Tales wasn't marketed as adult comedy, but it earned a reputation for being over kids' heads. Critics and parents noted that much of the humor, political satire, wordplay, showbiz references, flew past younger viewers. The puns were multi-layered, the parodies required cultural knowledge, and the self-aware jokes broke the fourth wall. It was a variety show disguised as a children's cartoon, and everyone knew it. Adults watched because it was genuinely funny. Kids watched because it had castles and dragons, and somehow that balance made it brilliant.
What's all the fuss? The little princess has grown.
All princesses grow.
Like that?
Number 33. Most cartoons stick with one network for their entire lifespan. Fractured Fairy Tales didn't. Rocky and Bullwinkle, and its segments, started on ABC in 1959, then jumped to NBC in 1961. Network shifts like that were unusual for animated programming in the early 60s, especially for a show that was already successful. The move came with a title change too. Rocky and his friends became The Bullwinkle Show. But Fractured Fairy Tales stayed consistent, proving the segment had its own identity. Two networks, same sarcasm.
We don't want commercials.
Amazon Pharmacy. She didn't.
Is this where I get changed into a frog?
Where's the nut, fella? Let me look.
Number 32. Edward Everett Horton brought warmth and wit to Fractured Fairy Tales, but he didn't get to enjoy its legacy for long. The show's original run ended in June 1964. Horton died of cancer in September 1970, just 6 years later at age 84. He'd spent his final working years narrating twisted fairy tales for children and adults who adored his delivery. By the time he passed, the show was already in syndication, introducing new audiences to his voice. He never knew how many generations would grow up hearing him say, "Once upon a time."
If you're gonna live on this mountain, you gotta pay the tax.
Then we won't live on the mountain.
Number 31. June Foray voiced nearly every female character in Fractured Fairy Tales, from princesses to witches to talking animals. But she couldn't make every recording session. When scheduling conflicts with voice work for Stan Freberg kept her away, the production didn't panic. They called in substitutes. Julie Bennett filled in for 3 episodes, and Dorothy Scott, wife of co-producer Bill Scott, covered a few more. It's a reminder that the Rocky and Bullwinkle universe was scrappy, in-house, and family-run. If you couldn't make the session, someone's spouse might read your lines. Number 30. When you watched an episode of Rocky and Bullwinkle, you weren't watching one story. You were watching a variety pack. Each half-hour episode contained multiple segments: a Rocky and Bullwinkle cliffhanger, a Fractured Fairy Tale, a Peabody's Improbable History, maybe a Dudley Do-Right. That's why the franchise totals look wild. 163 episodes, but 685 segments. Fractured Fairy Tales was never the show. It was one piece of a rotating lineup. This variety format was Jay Ward's genius move. If one segment didn't grab you, another one would 2 minutes later. Attention spans managed.
I want to be famous, like Daddy.
Alas, being the son of a great man,
Number 29. Jay Ward hated the animation quality coming out of Mexico. It was stiff, crude, and full of mistakes. Characters' mouths didn't sync, proportions shifted between frames, and movements looked robotic. But audiences didn't care. In fact, the low-budget visuals became iconic. The show proved that sharp writing could carry an entire series even when the animation looked like it was drawn on napkins. Critics overlooked the technical
Said
flaws because
napkins.
the jokes were too good to ignore. Fractured Fairy Tales became the gold standard for content over polish.
Exactly.
Style, optional. Wit, essential.
Right now, you've got to take the pet cow to market and sell it.
That's not a cow, Mama.
Number 28. The term limited animation sounds like an artistic decision. It wasn't. It was an economic necessity. J. Ward Productions couldn't afford the fluid, frame-by-frame animation Disney was doing, so they used shortcuts. Static backgrounds, reused scenes, characters that moved only their mouths or arms. This technique kept costs low enough to produce hundreds of segments on a TV budget. Fractured Fairy Tales leaned into these constraints, letting the narrator and voice actors do the heavy lifting. The result? A show that felt more like radio theater with pictures, and somehow it worked perfectly.
Well, Snow Baby, how does it feel to be Mrs. Prince Charming?
Oh, wonderful.
Number 27. Fractured Fairy Tales existed because General Mills wanted kids watching TV during breakfast cereal hours.
Yep.
That's not hyperbole. That's how children's programming
That
worked
is
in the early 60s.
accurate
Networks sold
history.
airtime to sponsors, and sponsors decided what got made. General Mills bankrolled Rocky and Bullwinkle to sell Cheerios and Trix, which is why the show aired in after-school and Saturday morning slots. The corporate machine was literally funding satire about corporate machines. The irony wasn't lost on Jay Ward, who built an entire segment mocking commercialization. Meta before meta was cool.
Help! Save me! Help!
Who are you?
I'm a brownie.
Isn't that a kind of a fudge cookie?
Number 26. Even though it was technically a segment inside Rocky and Bullwinkle, Fractured Fairy Tales got its own IMDb page, its own episode listings, and its own 1959 to 1964 date range. That's how strongly it established its own identity. Fans didn't say, I love that one part of Rocky and Bullwinkle. They said, I love Fractured Fairy Tales. Over time, it became so recognizable that syndication packages treated it like a standalone show. Some TV guides even listed it separately. It was a segment that outgrew its parent show. Small world, big impact.
I've got a nose like a cassava melon.
Okay, move over. What'd you just say?
5. If you watched in 1959 on ABC, you saw Rocky and his friends. If you watched in 1961 on NBC, you saw The Bullwinkle Show. Same content, different branding. Later, when the show hit syndication, it became The Adventures of Rocky and Bullwinkle and Friends, a blanket title that covered everything. This naming confusion persisted for decades, making it hard for fans to track down episodes or know what they were actually watching. But rebranding, Fractured Fairy Tales stayed consistent. The segment had a stronger identity than its host show.
Another commercial. This might be the last segment that we're going to watch here.
Number 24. Before Shrek, before Once Upon a Time, before every DreamWorks movie that winked at the camera, there was Fractured Fairy Tales. It didn't just parody individual stories, it established the formula. A familiar tale, flip the expectations, modernize the humor, and land a moral that's smarter than the original. This approach became a genre. Fractured Fairy Tales ran from 1959 to 1964 and created a blueprint that's still being used today. Every time a movie puts a princess in therapy or makes the villain sympathetic, it's following a path this show paved 60 years ago.
He's done it again. He's eaten everything in the house.
Not quite, dearie. I hit a chicken fried pig.
Number 23. Horton wasn't a cartoon guy. He was a character actor with serious credentials. He'd starred in Top Hat with Fred Astaire, Lost Horizon with Frank Capra, and Arsenic and Old Lace with Cary Grant. He perfected a specific comedic style, the flustered, nervous gentleman whose reactions were funnier than the joke itself. By the time he narrated Fractured Fairy Tales, he'd been in the business for 50 years. His voice carried weight because it came from someone who'd worked with the best. That's why the narration felt so trustworthy, even when the story was absurd.
Hi, Dad, down there.
Good heavens, he's 7 feet.
Number 22.
Okay, that's enough of that because he's starting to repeat himself again, but it is what it is here. I mean, it's a lot of good information that was there in the first half of it, but if you want to watch the rest of it, as a whole here, you want to watch. The thing that you want to watch is called Fractured Fairy Tales, the 1960s 40 Bizarre Secrets They Hid. And a lot of the stuff I felt like he did rehash a bit, like the narration and the whole thing about the networks and everything, but it is what it is. And I did see the link here. That's still not a part. That's the full thing. I was trying to get volume 4 and volume 5 because that covers all 5 years. I'm missing 4 and 5, and I've seen a couple of places on eBay where I could get them too. I mean, this is the stuff from our this is the stuff from a lot of our childhoods, whether you watched it first run or watching in reruns. I mean, unless you were born after, I would say, 2000, Rocky and Bullwinkle were something that you at least watch once as a kid. So that's the reason why it's not just, one of those things that I just see as educational. It's just more along the lines like we need to know it. We need to know it because, this is the stuff that most people grew up with here. Yeah, I really don't care as it would affect my love for the show. Yep. Yeah, volume 4 and 5 will cost you like $20. Yeah, I kind of figured that much. If you could sell. I just want volumes 4 and 5. There's a reason why I want that version of 4 and 5. Because those, to me, it seems like they're more complete and they kept mostly everything intact. Yeah, they kept mostly everything intact in those. So that's the reason why, I'm up here. It's like, I'm kind of like a stickler for like all the stories being told in a certain way as it was in the television broadcast. I still go back and watch the What's the Matter You episodes religiously and the Upsy Daisy episodes. So pretty much those who know about Upsy Daisy and What's the Matter You, those are great episodes. Yeah, I need to start collecting those myself. Yeah, send her the link here. That would be good. Now she's putting out the link for everybody to get the blue box set of it that says it's the whole entire thing here. Yes. Pennsylvania Creeper. But I don't know. Like I said, there's certain episodes that just priceless. That just so priceless with Rocky and Bullwinkle. Fractured Fairy Tales, priceless. What's the Matter You, priceless. Upsy Daisy, priceless. And I forgot what's the other one. The other one that got the FCC involved in Rocky and Bullwinkle, where they even made a sarcastic comment about the FCC. And was dealing with them. I forgot what the overall storyline was, but they end up getting captured by a Navajo Indian, and they was up here talking about, yeah, we're about to scout. It's like, you cannot do that. FCC rules said that you cannot show a little scalping on television. You're like, those jokes are priceless. Those jokes are priceless, and it's like, like I said, it's way before the type of television that we have now. As I read the back, it had all the Peabodys, all the Fractured Fairy Tales. Do they have the Dudley Do Rights on there, etc. And there's the etc. And there's the etc. And I'm about to say, it's like most Rocky and Bullwinkles do not have the original runs of Dudley Do Right, because sometimes they separated the Dudley Do Rights out of those shows here. That's the reason why I'm up here. Plus bonus features. Yes. I'm not debating that they don't have all five. They don't have all five. However, like I said, I'm not familiar with that company, but I do know that for the longest time, that Classic Media was the longest copyright holder of Rocky and Bullwinkle. If I could get it in there, I do know that Classic Media was the longest copyright holder for that after they bought it from General Mills. I don't know who owns the copyright there. That's the reason why I'm going back and looking for volume 4 and 5 in their releasing of it, because they did release everything, but they released it in seasons. So it was like volume season 1, season 2, season 3, season 4, season 5. I'm missing 4 and 5. But the people who boxed the new one is the new copyright holder. That's not classic. That is not Classic Media. So that's the reason why I was going back for it. Just to clarify. I'm not saying that might be the better buy, but I have my reasons why I'm buying 4 and 5. Classic Media was the people that were how can I say, syndicating the Rocky and Bullwinkle show for the longest period of time after they bought it for General Mills. So that's history that I've been following here. And I do know that the copyright had changed hands twice since Classic Media sold the rights. So I don't know, like I said, you found, 2019, but at the same time, I'm not familiar with that company. I am familiar with Classic Media. So that's just me being picky. That's just like how, some in comic book terms, how some dude bros must have the weird one out of 1,000 copy of some other book. It is what it is. And they are as originally presented. I know you're reading what's on the box. I understand that. Just it's not that I'm arguing against you. I'm just telling you the reason why I wanted season 4, season 5 from the Classic Media run. Deal was spicy at times, especially when you consider Nell's thing for the horse. No, that was, I thought, yeah, exactly. You're right. Yeah, Dudley, stupid autocorrect here. Yeah, interest peak, good stuff. Yeah, I mean, it is what it is. So that's the cool thing about what I saw for Fractured Fairy Tales. Like I said, it has not been much production as far as the comic book side, but at least I'm doing my homework for, like, Comic Book Spectrum and some of the things that we could talk about on Comic Book Spectrum. I thought that would have been one, but we talked about it a lot here. And like I said, I could show some episodes here, but I'm up here. I know for a fact that I started showing some of the stuff off of those Classic Media DVDs, we will get copyright stricken, because Classic Media does not own the rights to Rocky and Bullwinkle anymore. I know that for a fact. Yeah, at 7, I think most quite sophisticated for getting many of the jokes. Yeah, I mean that's the whole thing. It wasn't really written over kids' heads. It was like I said, the double entendre, the sarcasm, and the innuendos was just pretty much set up where graphically so kids would get it based upon what they were being shown on the screen. Adults would get it just because of what was being said. It was just so much funny here. Yeah, studio. Yeah, you're okay. Universal Pictures. So yeah, they're trustworthy enough here, but that's the whole thing. It's like I said before, the only reason I wanted to get season 4 and season 5 the way that I wanted to, because I wanted to keep the classic media set together. That was what I grew up with watching. That's the copyright owners who put it in syndication for the longest, was classic media. Yeah, I watched a ton of old movies, and that helped. Yeah, but Fractured Fairy Tales was one of the few things that was just not Grimm's fairy tales. It was a combination of a lot of things from over in Europe, a lot of those lore and stories from over there, as well as some of the Grimm fairy tales and stuff to that magnitude. And like I said, their version of Sleeping Beauty was a very big dig at Disneyland. I was like, you know what? That went over my head as a kid, but as an adult, yeah, I could see it. I can see that happening here. Just like the retelling of Jack and the Beanstalk about what actually happened after the giant died. And the son of the giant come back down to the earth, and he just bouncing his ball. It's like, oh my goodness, these kids get awfully tall today. It's like, no wonder he's a basketball player. Stupid stuff like that is funny. But nevertheless, yeah, that's like, I can't buy anything else until I have to deal with getting my copyrights, ISBN, and other stuff for C2E2. I can understand that here. And just like I stated earlier in the show, this is my worst time of the year to really think about other stuff as a whole, mainly because of the fact that I still got to pay sales tax. I got to get ready to pay corporate tax. I got to pay my personal income taxes. I have to pay for the domain name and the merchant side of Wix.com coming in March. We have the CGC membership coming in March. It's just a lot of stuff that's just coming up the pike here. I might be able to stretch, $20 for volume 4 and 5. I might look at the other one, but it's no guarantee that I get it right away. I got other comics that we gotta finish paying off on and stuff to that magnitude to get all the bills and stuff paid down before I indulge in extracurricular activities such as this year. So I do get it here. And on that note, I don't have anything else unless you guys got anything else that you want to talk about. I mean, that was just one of the few things that I've seen recently here. I keep forgetting that Triple C always does his show during the time that I'm on here, or at least into my second hour here. Let's see. Yeah, GoDaddy. I just gave GoDaddy over $100 for business fees. Yeah, you paying $100. I'm paying close to like $400. That's the reason why I'm able to, to have all the products and stuff on the company website and manage all sales from Wix, because I got all the tools and everything here. Yeah, I'm good. We'll be streaming tomorrow and Monday. Ooh, what are you doing? What are you doing on tomorrow? I'm curious now. What are you doing on tomorrow? That's interesting. Monday, I know either you're doing your music on Monday or you're doing comic book sales or both. I don't know. You all have a good night. Oh, he's going to leave without telling us. Boo! He's going to leave without telling us. Boo! But Mondays he does do his regular talk about his own music, as well as maybe have comic book sales on his comic book channel here. But tomorrow is what I'm interested in here. Oh, you are there. So what is happening tomorrow as far as streaming is concerned? Because I know Monday is usually either you do something music related, talking about one of the tracks on your album, or you do the comic book sales, or you do both. That's Monday. But tomorrow, what are you doing? Tomorrow live stream. See, he's talking about a live stream, but not really telling us what the live stream is about. Okay, so he's talking more about his latest album. So he's still talking about, you know, which track are you on as far as the album is concerned now, Aaron? Because I kind of like at a loss, because it's like you, over the last couple of weeks, I think you talked about 7 different tracks already, or is it 6? Because it's like each track is part of a bigger story, and each time you come out there, it's almost like you're talking about another chapter in the big rock opera that you did for this album here. And if you haven't watched Cyclotron Squirt Gun as far as the music is concerned, it is a good watch. It is a good watch because it really gets it deep as far as the story behind the actual lyrics here. Yeah, the tracks are kind of scattered along different albums. Yeah. So it's like that's the only reason why it's hard for me to kind of keep up, because it's like it's different albums, but it's like you telling it in chronological order. So it's like you might talk about 6 different tracks, but those 6 different tracks could be across 3 different albums. So it's just weird in that aspect here. So on that note, I know that some of you like I'll talk about okay, cool. Daisy and introduce a new character. Cool. So that is something that if you're into music and into the behind the scenes and want to understand what the story that goes beyond the lyrics, watch Aaron's podcast, the Cyclotron Squirt Gun, on tomorrow. And then on Monday, it's kind of like a rehashing of the next track on a different album, and or the live comic sales, or both. So it's one of those type of deals here. It's always a labor. As a creator, it's always a labor of love here. And for those who want to go and visit Cheap Comic Collector, I'm going to let you guys go and do that here, because I might stop in and say hi there. Outside of that, I'll be back here next Saturday talking a little bit more about comics, cartoons, the industry itself, where we're at in production, and a little bit of everything. Because why? Because you guys love talking about it. So until then, live life, grow, and be well. And we are out of here. Have a very good evening. And hopefully Parallax is watching. I believe I corrected the problem. So we got a brand new outro. I'm still thinking about if I'm going to do a brand new intro for 2026, but the outro is done for 2026. And here we go. And yes, there it is. There's the Monday night the claims show for Monday. So tomorrow, music. Monday is comics. Good night, all. And hit the like. Yep. Thank you so much. And here we